The time has come. What I mean by that is, well, I remember in some of my videos that I've uploaded to YouTube about a few months ago, I remember I have always talked about that I had promised that I would be able to show off a video of my drawings. Now we're finally gonna get into it, but before we do, you may ask me, what's making me doing this? Well, let me tell you something. I remember back in 2018, I used to upload on my old YouTube channel where it's videos about drawings from my sketchbook. I've only done about like 4 of them, so if you guys want to see that, I'll put the link in the description. So that way y'all can just check them out and stuff. Even though I'm not really active on my old channel, even though I'm more likely active on my Rockero Otaku 2000 YouTube channel and all, but you know. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead, get this started, and here we go. Alright, here we are, people. Okay, so I know you guys might be asking me why they're on paper. Well, I was gonna do like some drawings on one of my sketchbooks, but then I thought, yeah. But even though I am an artist, but I'm just more likely a digital artist, meaning that I just draw on one of the drawing apps I have on my tablet, Ibis Paint X, and well, for the computer, more likely just draw on MS Paint and stuff. Anyways, let's go ahead and get right down to business, shall we? So this drawing I drew here from December 13th, 2020. So this here is meant to be a box art cover for one of my future upcoming games I might be able to make on GameMaker like 8.1. Not just any game, but this game is going to have like a visual novel and RPG and all, but whatever. So this game here is Magical Boy Nicholas. So, you guys might ask me, what's its plot / storyline? Well, if you want to see its plot / storyline, you'll have to check out that light novel that I published onto Wattpad on June 15th of 2020, which is Magical Boy Nicholas, the opening arc. Well, I could tell you guys the storyline / plot of it. It goes something like this. Nicholas Tamichi was living his ordinary life. By the way, Nicholas Tamichi, that's him right here. Anyways, let me start over. Nicholas Tamichi was living his ordinary life. One day, after school, he was hanging out with his girlfriend, Sayori Mazahina, and of course one of his best friends, Christian Uzukato, which is this one, and they headed down to the music place down in Hazanakanari City. So then, Nicholas Tamichi's life changes when he becomes a magical boy after he and Christian met up with a gray talking cat named Taruo and explaining to them that King Venom Alien, the series' main antagonist, has sent all of his alienlings out to attack the city of Hazanakonari. Well, I could say this. I guess you guys can just say that this game will be like an adaptation or adaptation of my novel that I did up on Wattpad. Anyways, moving on to the next part. Alright, so this here is another one of my drawings that I did from December 14th. And this here is meant to be a box art cover for one of my other future upcoming games I might be able to make. And this one is going to be The Pledge of Nikoru Rinkazuki. Now, I remember I originally started this out back in January 24th, 2018. Even though it was originally called Nikoru Kagamucho. Although, I'm not sure what its plot or storyline will be, but I'll have to see what I can think of. Oh, and by the way, even though it was, like I said, it was originally called Nikoru Kagamucho, but I kind of changed the main character's last name to Rinkazuki. I guess why was because I remember how there were times I would go up on Google, type in Nikoru Kagamucho, just see my creation. And of course, on Google, it always comes at me with the, did you mean Nikoru Karamucho? It's like, what the hell? Oh! And you guys may ask me, what was Nikoru Renkazuki meant to be an inspiration from? Nikoru Renkazuki is meant to be an inspiration from Nagaru Tanigawa's Haruhi Suzumiya series. And for Magical Boy Nicholas, that it is also an inspiration from one of my favorite magical girl animes, Madoka Magica. Anyways, moving on to the next drawing. Okay, so this, I know I kind of drew this out around like Tuesday or so. So if you're wondering what this is just a character that I drew out. He's meant to be like a chili pepper, wearing like a little dark cloak, and the little weapon's meant to be like a saber or lightsaber, whatever. A fedora and an eye patch. Well, I might be able to change the weapon up, just in case. So I did kind of give this guy a name, Paul the Chili Pepper. And I know he's meant to be like one of these villainy characters, or villain-like characters. So I'm not sure whichever creation I might be able to put him in, but I'll probably see if I can think of something. And I might be able to think of a backstory for him, so... Anyways, moving on to the next one. Then, of course, here's a little something that I did. Well, even though since Christmas is coming up in about 6 days, I figured why not do like a drawing, but this one here is meant to be a drawing of me and my girlfriend, Sayori Hana, who I've been in a relationship with since August 10th of 2016, and who I knew since May 30th of 2016. And yep, under the mistletoe. Yep, here I go with my Squidward impression again. Anyways, moving on. And before I do, yeah, I always think about my girl, Sayori, every day whenever I be up to something like chilling or playing video games and just cruising on the internet. And of course I always just take my time to do photos of her and I, whether it just be like drawings or Pizap collages and all that kinds of stuff. And of course I love to take my time to talk to her, as well as how much I always think about her and all that stuff. Anyways, now let's move on to the next drawing, shall we? Okay, so this here is yet another box art covers for one of my another one of my future upcoming games. So this one is meant to be a box art for Superstar Heroine Natsuko Miyagamin. Now, I know it was just something I came up with back in July 7th of 2018. Although it was originally an inspiration from Madoka Magica, well, even though I remember a friend of mine had once said to me, having a few different creations inspired by one thing defeats the whole purpose of being creative, which that got into my head, and I thought, why not just spicing things up? And well, for Superstar Heroine Natsuko Miyagamin, it kind of has its own thing, even though it's not meant to be an inspiration from Madoka as it used to be. But for Superstar Heroine Natsuko Miyagamin's storyline is that it's for what these girls fight are called dark demons, and of course the two leaders, Asami Tsuruyen and Akifumi Sanjo. However, I remember I once wrote up a story of that on my old Wattpad account back in 2018 or so. And then since I remember looking back at it, and I thought, you know what, I'm thinking of giving like a remake or so, but I might be able to think of new ideas because I felt it wasn't as perfect as I had thought. even if it doesn't really come out as a perfect light novel series, then why not maybe make it into like a video game series or some sort, you know? And and for of course, visual novel and RPG, basically magical girl themed whatsoever. Anyways, moving on to the next drawing I did. Okay, so here we are with the next one. Now, I kind of like did my best here and all, but now, if you're wondering what is up here, yes, it's another box art, but for one of my other future upcoming games I might be able to make in the future. And this one is meant to be Yanira and Vanessa. And yeah, the inspiration, you may ask? Yes, Yanira and Vanessa is meant to be an inspiration from another one of my favorite anime shows, Pop Team Epic. And of course, these two. And of course, I remember I got the idea, Yanira and Vanessa, not only just being inspired by Pop Team Epic, but I do remember, back in my senior year in high school, I remember I had choir with Mr. Jackson, and I remember around my senior year, I remember two freshmen who I knew with the same names, Yanira Victoria and Vanessa Salazar. And then I thought, and then of course I remember how I've always watched some Pop Team Epic, and of course it gave me an idea to develop their own characters, like where Yanira's character can play a very similar role to Popuko, while Vanessa's character can play a very similar role to Pipimi. Although I must say, I do get inspired by everything I like and see and just kind of like come up with my own thing and, this and that. Well, I'm not sure who will be like the main antagonist of this kind of thing, but anyways, moving on to the next one. And of course, this is the last one I did, which I managed to do it today. Now, I know what you guys might be asking me, I know that this right here is meant to be an inspiration from Crash Bandicoot. Although I do remember Crash Bandicoot back in my childhood. Although I remember, as a younger kid, I would always get on the PlayStation 2, play me some Crash Bandicoot. Well, let's just say that the PlayStation was my first childhood console I remember playing. And of course, Crash Bandicoot being the first video game character that I knew before. Way before I knew Mario and Sonic and all the other kinds of video game characters. But for this guy right here that I drew out is Blast Lobozoxy. Now, if you're wondering where I heard this thing called Lobozoxy, even though it's not really a real animal name, but it's just something I found up on the fantasy name generator. Okay, now prepare to see how they're being colored in once I show y'all. Although I did color them in with Ibis Paint X, so here you go. Wow, what did you really think of the coloring I added on one of the drawing apps I have? Ibis Paint X, I bet the drawings I did, and especially the coloring I did on Ibis Paint X looked really cool. If you ask me. Well, now for some of my creations that I showed you, like Magical Boy Nicholas, the one being an inspiration from Madoka Magica, Nikoru Rinkazuki, the one being an inspiration from Haruhi Suzumiya, uh, Blast Lobuzaxi, the one being an inspiration from Crash Bandicoot, and of course Superstar Hero and Natsuko Miyagamin just being my own thing and, this and that. It's like I've stated before, I always get inspired by everything I like and see, and I just develop into my own work or idea, and I just come up with my things, and as well as making my own characters, and this and that. Although, I don't think I might have said this before, but I've always thought of becoming a video game developer, make my own games, as well as making manga as well. Because for the kind of audience I'm hoping to aim for is definitely going to be for the teens and adult audiences. So, even though you may... So that I guess that kind of explains why you'll be able to see, like, some dark fantasies or any kind of like fantasy in some of my creations. So like I said, the kind of audience I prefer to aim for is definitely going to be the teens and adult audiences. Even though I've always been developing my own creations ever since like technically May 17th of 2013. Although like the more I just get into like other things that I find interesting, the more I just kind of like get inspired, just make my own things, and, well, this and that. But anyways, I think that is all for this video, so I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, please be sure to subscribe to my channel if y'all want to see some more videos, and this is Rocker Otaku 2000 speaking, so peace guys, thank you, and goodbye.